Now, of course, Big Brother 22 is definitely a massive disappointment. Big Brother definitely has had a few other disappointing seasons, especially when it comes to the Mono era, whether it be maybe having potential twist that could work, or a cast that, oh my god, this could be pretty exciting. And then it ends up laying down in the end. For me, that season is Big Brother 25. I think maybe for a lot of people, because this season, it's definitely the season that had like much have a lot of great potential to it with this cast and had a lot of great highs to it, especially in the first 6 weeks. Honestly, but then after the double eviction and after a certain twist, the season had probably a big downfall. And why I point to the downfall is as bad as some it got to be, it definitely is a noticeable downfall, I'm not gonna lie. So it makes a season that could have been like, oh my god, one of the best seasons ever. Season is just, I mean, so solid, but man, it could have been so much better. Especially with a couple of certain elements added into it that make it just like that. Mind you, probably one of the biggest issues with the modern era Big Brother, and they're really in your face about it. Like, up to all the also good elements, and it does overall still have a pretty solid cast to it. It's definitely a season that, in the end, is kind of let down by a lot of stuff. So, that's what I'm going to talk about here. Again, another disappointing season. I've always wanted to do a full-on type of video on this, so hope you enjoyed. This is my I think the Mono era in general, I think after season 20 has been really let down, honestly. But and one course, Big Brother 22, I would say is the general most disappointing season. Like it's the most disappointing season of reality TV ever. Again, I did do my video essay on that season. You guys have it checked out already. If you ask me what's my second most disappointing season, I would probably go with this season. And again, it doesn't make it a bad season. Again, so disappointment does not mean bad. It just you might have some hype behind it, and then it leaves you disappointed. And there definitely was a lot of excitement when it comes into this season. I mean, again, it actually had a multiverse theme to it, which, well, is a bit late on that. You know, it makes sense, honestly. And it could have made some pretty interesting stuff, honestly, even though the twists end up not being the greatest in the end, but we'll get to that. And the cast looks like it could be a potential to be a really great modern cast that makes up certain elements, that makes up certain great players, players from different outlets and everything. I feel like this could be a cast that's here to play or a cast that's really going to bring it. Not much, you also got the first deaf person to appear on Big Brother. And, of course, the big excitement is that we have the son of Cirie Fields, Jared Fields. We'll definitely talk about Jared in a bit, but when I read this cast, I was like, oh my god, the son of Cirie is going to be on here? And then, of course, after the pre-episode, Cirie herself ends up being a house guest on the show. Like, I remember the excitement was through the roof when Cirie was going to be on this season. Like, the excitement was through the goddamn roof. But again, we'll get into all that. But yeah, I would say, Bear 20, this 6 to the 2020, it's still a solid season. I wouldn't call this like a terrible season of the show. I won't say that downfall is like terrible or anything. But it did have one single moment that did kind of lead to a season just taking a bit of a nosedive. To a season that could have been amazing after the first 6 weeks, to a season that's just solid to decent at best. Now, of course, we're going to talk about most of the cast itself. Again, there are definitely a few I'm going to say for their own sections, so if I don't get to certain place, because I'm going to cite them for their own sections. But let's talk about most of the cast itself, which, you know, there's probably issues with the seasons. Most of them are actually all pretty well done. Some, again, I might do a next section, but some I wouldn't mind seeing play again, honestly. Like, I mean, there's Luke, who, of course, ended up getting expelled for saying the N-word, and apparently he's still like, I didn't do anything wrong by just doing that and everything. Like, I think it's more how he said it and played it, kind of think I was okay. And to be fair, I don't think Lou was gonna last long for the game anyway, honestly. Like he was probably close to being back toward the season. Like if this was a regular week, because honestly the first week basically had just 4 initial nominees with Corey, Jared, Kristen, and Felicia. Like it doesn't happen. Like honestly, Luke probably went a bit back toward that first week, honestly, or he probably get back toward the next week, if I'm being honest. Yeah, so they kind of like speed up his process, because I'm pretty sure Luke wouldn't made it far into the season anyway, so yeah. Don't have much to say about Luke except for that. And then we got Kristen, who did get a bit unlucky to while she did play kind of too hard too fast. She did get a bit unlucky the fact that Luke getting expelled, they didn't cancel the eviction, and she probably could have got a good chance to So he'll better after that first week. So that's pretty unfortunate. And then we have Riley, who's honestly one of my favorite early boots. Honestly, again, maybe not the best game player, and I'm maybe the fact that she's just so goddamn drop dead gorgeous. Like, have you looked at Riley? And I also followed her a lot on Instagram and social media since then, and she's just a delight, like a huge bright delight. But she's one that definitely had potential, and actually played a lot better from an archetype that you would expect, actually. There was a point where if things wasn't in a way, she probably wouldn't have gotten saved in week 2, honestly. It's one instance where I don't think she really did much wrong to warrant her eviction, so, yeah. And then we have Heisung, who probably has one of the biggest downfalls ever to what he wants to HOH, was so controlling and dictating, and then was so dense that I'm running out Riley and everything. Like, out there, Heisung actually surprised me because I wasn't sure what to expect from Heisung going into the season. And yeah, he has become one of the best pre-jury characters ever with his mannerisms, the way he speaks. It's just fucking hilarious. Like, he's one of those players that probably kind of hopes that we do get second chance at some point, or like pre-jury season. I want to see him play again. Not sure he'll do well, but he's one. I feel it's one of those like early boots that's gonna make it irritating to even matter what season is on. And then we have Red, who was fine on the season. I don't have much to say about Red, honestly. Like, it's kind of hilarious that the reason he got evicted is because he wanted to mend his relationship with Cameron, and that's the only reason why he got evicted. And why the other person we'll get to that in a bit, but yeah, Red's probably one of the least noble people he has, in my opinion, at least. Sorry. And then we have Izzy, who is also a pretty memorable character as well. Honestly, I mean, you might not know that if you watched the show again. But if you know the live feeds, honestly, like, oh my god. Like, again, I'm not like a live feeds watcher. I'm more just know from clips I've seen online and stuff I see on YouTube. And yeah, Izzy is a fantastic character. Again, messy player, but a fantastic character. Also, the fact that she's also not competing on the NEC's Amazing Race is actually surprising considering her edit. But she's on that base was in Suri's corner, and she was in a great position, and then got backdoored, and then in the backdoor, Paul was close to staying, actually, but then Mega's like, yeah, we should flip on Izzy. And he did, and then Izzy got evicted and had a fun downfall, and she's all around just a great character to watch. Yeah. And then we got Mimi or Nicole, who, again, that way I don't really have much to say about, honestly, because she, at some points, wasn't really down on the show, honestly, because she was playing, like, so passively. And again, the time was a good strategy, playing so passively to the point where they decided to evict her just for the hell of it. And that's what happened. I mean, her solo rants were actually a lot of fun to watch, but she was like, oh my god, people just do something. It was like, you're not doing anything. Yeah. But one from last season, Big Brother, and maybe some aspects of the current season, passive play is not good play. But that's a top for another day. And then we have Cameron, who is an interesting, complicated figure. Like I said, if you see what he is on the show, you see him as like a very likable underdog, someone that does win a lot of competitions, which I'm really pretty impressed. I mean, the guy won like 2 vetoes and 3 HOHs, which I think more than expect for someone like Cameron, honestly. But if you like seen some of the stuff in the live feeds. But if you have seen stuff in the live feed and see some aspects of what he said, and especially to Riley, you're like, yeah. It doesn't make him the most likable person out there. I mean, it's really concerning that he won America's Favorite House Guest. And he also won on radio games, and he was the first one out. So, I mean, I don't hate Cameron, honestly. Like, he definitely does have his moments. But he definitely doesn't. But it is one place that does get a little, I think, of a little less than what I think about it. And then we have Corey, who is the brother of the first Brutal Survivor Boy 2, Zach Wonenberger, which was, again, a very random choice, but Corey was definitely one of the stars of the season, honestly. Like, someone that actually was in a great position, someone that had great social bonds, had some great gameplay aspects, and which was a pretty likable presence throughout. Again, kind of went downhill after the Mimi boot, but overall, I really enjoyed Korra on this season, and I enjoyed a lot of his stuff he's done since the show, and I will not mind seeing Korra return, honestly, at some point. And then we have Blue, who was also a fun presence on the season. Again, aside from the relationship with Joe, which was very not my thing, but aside from that, I still like Blue on the season. Again, someone that seems to be like very likable, enjoyable, and her content all the season was pretty hilarious and awesome. I would recommend checking that out. And she's just a very lovely person. Again, I'm someone that if cooking is done right, I can always enjoy it. And then, Blue, I'm someone that if the cooking is done well, I can always enjoy it and have a big grin on my face. And Blue is one of those people. And how she, I was actually disappointed that she ended up being on 2 episodes of the damn challenge. Which no. And then we have I don't think Blue is not like a good player, honestly. I mean, for some reason, even in her boot round, she thought she was going to stay for some reason. But, again, I wouldn't mind seeing Blue back. And also, the same thing with America. And I think at the film, she's actually coming on the challenge, actually. America was just a surprisingly good character that you expect. And someone I was actually really excited going into the season, and she's someone that I really enjoyed, honestly. Again, maybe not the best player because she leaks information too much. But she actually had a good mind for the game. Hell, she was one that was responsible for the Easy Boo Week. And she actually had the romance with Corey, which, but despite how sweet and nice it was kind of made fun of the show as a romance that wasn't going to last, or just something to make fun of. Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think they moved in together recently, if I remember correctly. Correct me wrong on that, but I think they actually moved in together recently. And the romance, I actually am very fond of, honestly. Yeah, America was just a very lovely presence to watch. And the last one we're talking about in this section, because I do plan on staying on the final 3 for their own section, and the other 2 Nova players for their own section as well, is Felicia, who is probably my favorite character of the season, and probably my favorite contestant on this entire cast, actually. Felicia was, again, the first of the two like, popular older woman characters, because obviously Angela was next season, and Felicia was just a fun and amazing presence. Again, good game player? Not really. Felicia just had like so many fun one-liners, so many like odd character aspects to it and quirks to her. You just can't help but love her whenever she's on screen. And hell, the fact that she actually won the HOH was actually pretty impressive, actually. Again, Felicia was pretty much a delight to hold on that season. And for these videos, there'll be like certain contestants that are probably all different in their own section, considering how much to. As well as talk about with more of those players than most other players. And of course, it's time to talk about the one and only Cirie and Jared Fields. And again, when Jared was announced he was going to be in the season, again, the son of Cirie Fields, who we got to see a brief glimpse of, honestly, around Game Changers for the Little Ones visit, where Cirie actually missed his graduation to be on that season, which was a pretty emotional moment. Not gonna lie, probably my favorite moment of that Little One visit. It's like, oh, the son of Cirie is gonna be on here. Oh my god, that could be an interesting casting choice. That could make for some great. So you can see if Jared actually has like the same greatness that her mom has. Because honestly, we all know who Cirie Fields is at this point. Like how I did a video, I ranked all her competition appearances. And then after the premiere episode, Cirie ended up being a contestant on this season. It's like, holy shit, like I remember the hype was through the goddamn roof on this, that Cirie was going to be on this season. Like, again, Cirie's obviously like a social strategy mastermind, competing on her 4 times, but I'll tell you now, 5 or 6, because as I'm filming this, Australian Side vs. the World's going to premiere tomorrow. And then, of course, she's competing on Target 50, so she's on Target 6 times, which is insane. Like, that's crazy that someone like Cirie's been on that show, like, 6 times. Like, damn. Cirie. And of course, you also compete on the Traitors as well, which actually won that season, which is one reason why I still thought that, because Cirie actually won a reality competition show. So who would be on Big Brother was definitely an interesting choice, but I'm like, And again, I'm not going to talk about too much about Cirie here. If you want to know my thoughts on her time on Big Brother, you can check out the video I did where I ranked all her competition appearances. But the more I think about it, the more I find it to be one of her lesser known appearances. But that's not really anything to do with Cirie. I mean, hell, for the first 6 weeks, she was fantastic. She was running the show, running the game, and proving that her social strength aspects can really not well Big Brother, and she proved how great of a social player she truly is, that people will love. I mean, how check relationship with Izzy, who actually is the daughter that Jared was her son, which also might not. It's definitely strange that Spice being a popular player. No one expected that her Jared was her son. That's it. No one expected until after the eviction that Jared was her son. I mean, Blue kind of figured it out, but of course Jared really hinted about it. But as far as Jared's slippers on that, no one expected that Jared and Suri were actually related, which is kind of strange, actually. I didn't think that was gonna be one of the best kept secrets in the show's history, but hey, here we are. Here we are. But I still like I still really like Suri on the season. I think it's just obviously like after Izzy got evicted, her game kind of took a little bit of a nosedive. As you can tell, the game was really draining her. Hell, I think even if I remember correctly, the double eviction, she asked Jared to nominate her so that she could get evicted. If I remember that correctly, like you can tell Big Brother was really draining her, and then she was like not, it was really super hard and everything. And also the fact that she actually made it to 5th place is actually pretty impressive. She definitely still had her moments aside from that, but yeah, she didn't really have that same like gravitas as she did in the early weeks, which is pretty unfortunate. But it is what it is. But then we get to the unfortunate elephant in the room, her son, Jared, who I would say is probably up there as one of the most disappointing house guests in recent memory. Like, except up there with, like, Jack from season 21, as it's born that had a lot of potential going into this season, but ended up really letting us down. I mean, well, just not as bad as Jack, but yeah, he's the one that still does some not so good things, the one that really acted very unlikable at times, and like a douche or a dick at times, like unnecessarily. Her being with her mom actually could have been a great advantage. You can think that some aspects, in some ways, he kind of like ruined her mom's game. In some ways, honestly. Like, Jared does have he does have his moments, honestly, but it's how he treats certain people, especially Blue at times, was just not so great. Hell, a lot of people thought if I'm American, I think he said the R word to America, and a lot of people thought he should have been expelled, like what they do Luke earlier in the week, but they decided not to, which, again, but that's a topic for another day. That is a topic for another day. But yeah, Jared's probably maybe my least favorite player on this cast because, well, he played pretty terribly, he acted pretty terribly, and just last time was a fun watch. Like, the only good thing I say about it is that it looks like he has like learned his lesson from that season. So I'm sure if you do see Jared in any reality show in the future, he'll probably be a lot more likable, honestly. Frank, I hope so. If I remember correctly, I think he's be on next season Beast Games, if I remember correctly. I think so, honestly. So I'm sure next time we do see Jared, he'll be a lot more likable, and also hoping a lot less messy. Someone who basically caused long conflict for like no real reason. Also, his fight with Corey, though, amazing fight. But I'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, sweet, yeah, definitely a little disappointing for sure. And now we get to the final 3 itself. The Mafia, Jag, Matt, and Bowie Jane. Let's start with Bowie Jane, honestly, who I thought was fine on this season. Like, I don't say I hate Bowie Jane as much as some people seem to hate Bowie Jane. Like, she definitely has some moments, honestly. She definitely has occasional, like, fun, quirky moments that you just kind of enjoy. And also, the fact that she's now the person that she ended up being the longest person ever to not get nominated. Like, you don't have Bowie Jane be someone that would get nominated, like, every other week, honestly. But no, she actually has some impressive social moments. She actually won 3 HOHs, which I was not expecting. I was not expecting this Bowie Jane to win any competitions this season. But she won 3 HOHs, which probably one that actually wasn't even one she was trying to win, but here we are. Like I said, you think something like Bowie Jane, she probably would have been like nominated every other week, honestly. That's what it left like at first, but no, she actually is now the longest person to not got nominated, because it was like a 990-day season, and the only time she got was when she lost the final HOH. So again, Bowie Jane can have her moments, but I don't really have much to say about Bowie Jane at all, honestly. And there we have Matt, who, of course, is the first true deaf person to be on Big Brother. And I'll say he's definitely a bit more unlikable on this season than I remember him being. Honestly, he did some not so good stuff, but between the three though, honestly, he's probably my favorite. And in terms of gameplay, he definitely landslide plays the best game on this season. Again, maybe not at first, but he definitely get his social standing going, honestly. He was able to have a lot of relationships, especially with Jack, enough to where he actually saved Jack in week 4, but we'll get to that in a bit. And he can have his good moments. I thought his approach on Ryan at the time was actually pretty sweet and pretty cute to watch. He definitely has like fun moments throughout the season and some fun back and forth with a lot of players throughout as well. And again, he actually has some pretty good social bonds, especially with relationship with Cirie, actually. He definitely had his moments for sure. I mean, hell, a lot of people thought he was actually going to win, and even people thought, like, Jack, vote out Matt in Final 4, Final 3. Hell, in the finale, people thought that Jack was going to lose to Matt at the finals. People really thought that. Hell, even I thought that. I thought that Matt was going to be the winner, bar none. But a combination of Jack's competition wins, which I will talk about in the next part, and Matt just having probably one of the worst worst final jury performances out there. Napoli doesn't host case 3. You only see votes from Felicia and Cirie, and everyone else for Jack to win. And speaking of Jack, let's talk about Jack. I don't like it, but I'm just gonna clarify. I don't hate Jack. I do not hate Jack at all, honestly. I mean, he was also the first that's what I get right. He was the first sketch person to appear on Big Brother, which something else got to mention. That's also a pretty impressive, exciting thing, honestly. You can tell that really mattered a lot to him. And one that they did play an interesting impact on his game, honestly. And that is one of the things that actually made him a lot really likable on this season. He's the one that in the game was not really good when it comes to gameplays. He wanted to try to have a structure or alliance, but he never got that across. But he never really actually got that, actually. Most of the time, honestly. I mean, hell, he actually got evicted in week 4, honestly. He ended up being too loyal to an alliance that didn't have it back at all and wasn't even real to begin with. But then Matt ended up winning a power to end up stopping one of the next 2 evictions and saving someone, and that's what happened in week 4. And he actually could have gotten evicted in week 5, actually, if it wasn't for the fact that, again, Rad basically wanted to save Karen. How the possibility he could have gotten nominated in week 6 if certain things didn't end up panning out, so. But that he basically won competition, which again, I will talk about his wins in a bit. That's also an interesting topic, is of course his wins. It's competition, that he won 7 vetoes and 3 HOHs, but I'm going to say that for another time. That brings also, because that will bring another bigger issue with this season. But that will bring another bigger issue with this season, which I will talk about. But just the personality, he does have his likable moments. He does have his charming moments. He can't have his oppressive moments. I'm not saying like Jack's like all bad. Like in terms of gameplay, he's probably near the bottom. He's probably around where Evil Dick and Rachel Riley are. Once the fact that he got voted out, honestly. But he does have his moments, honestly. You know, he does. At times, there was a moment that were pretty baffled, like him afflicted Felicia and Bowie Jane, when people thought that Matt was going to like sweep the jury. Honestly, like people told Jack vote out Matt, and people thought he just made like the dumbest decision ever twice, and somehow he ended up winning the season, which is not one of the more convoluted and more like up and down ways that someone could win, honestly, but. Yeah. But like I said, I don't hate Jack at all, honestly. In terms of winners, he's probably one of the less known ones to me, honestly. He's someone I wouldn't mind seeing play again, honestly. I'm sure he'll be a much better presence on his return. But combined the fact that, honestly, you know, him the best game player, him being a bit too like, in your face, and him having some questionable moments at times, and how he treats people, especially during that final 5 week. I think it was 5, 5, and 4, if I remember correctly. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was the point where he actually tried to purposely keep Felicia up, honestly, and trying to play him as like the good people, like, you know, the aspect with the good people and then the bad people aspect. Which did kind of rub me the wrong way a little bit. But again, I don't hate Jack at all, honestly. He's not like a terrible winner by any means in terms of personality, at least. But but him actually ended up winning in the end did make the season kind of feel a little less exciting by the end of it. And I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. And now this brings us to basically one of the known bigger and bigger issues with this season. And this has also been an issue with the Mono era, but I don't think it really clicked with me until this season. And that is the competition variety or lack thereof. Which again, I did not fully realize until this season. I'm not sure why I didn't. But no issue with Big Brother on it. I think it's still kind of issue with this season in general is the lack of competition variety, where it feels like competitions are just the same ones over and over and over and over again. Some of them just like physical ones with a little bit of like thinking and everything, but some of them just really physical, honestly. Too physical, honestly. And considering that Jack's one of the more like buff people, one of the more like physically active people on the cast, there's no reason. Yeah, he's obviously going to win all these competitions too. Again, well, admittedly, him winning 7 vetoes and 3 HOHs, that can be kind of impressive. When you actually look at the you look at the competitions. When you look at the competitions that he was doing, and when you actually look at the people he was competing against, it makes those wins not as exciting as you would think. I think Mackenzie's 10. I think the wins that Mackenzie had last season, like Mackenzie won 10 competitions. Like she won the first power competition, and like I think like 3 HOHs, 4 vetoes. What's what? Oh yeah, 3 HOHs, 4 vetoes, 1 power competition, and 2 of the arenas, which is like a total of 10 competitions. Again, I might spend more on that when I talk about Big Brother 26. But I consider it more exciting considering the competitions and the people she was up against. Like a lot more physically active people. And this season, when consider the competition she was, and people are not as physically active, although a couple older women cast with Serene and Felicia. And even Bowie Danes, I would say, is the most physically active, and other people as well. And it's basically this combination of just that the competition he was facing up against, the fact the competitions are just more physical. No duh, Jack's going to win. It makes his wins a lot less impressive in the long run. Not to mention, I'll probably talk about this more when we get to the downfall aspect of this season. I just think for a less exciting endgame. Now we actually talk about the actual downfall. First, let's talk about the thing that kind of started the downfall. Now, like I said before this week, the season was actually doing pretty great actually. And the cast pretty exciting, and even with the BLI episodes, and there was still a lot of back and forth, honestly, on when they should say about Heisen kind of like, bring out his game. He was actually close to staying in his week, honestly. Yeah, Ryle was especially close to staying as well, honestly, and there were a lot of interesting back and forth, honestly. There were a lot of good moments, honestly, in the season. Again, I might get down to talk about the best moments section, but week 6 especially being probably an all-time great week of Big Brother. And we week after with Jared won HOH, Dominic American Corey, Jen won veto, and then Karen got evicted. It led to a double eviction with basically Cameron and Jared got evicted about that week. I think that would have been an exciting double eviction. But then Julie revealed a twist that. Now, it's no secret that Big Brother has had a lot of bad twists. Sometimes those twists end up really bringing down the season. Maybe the Curry top would be 11, the Kim comeback thing could be 21. The hacker twist somewhat in Big Brother 20. But for me, Zombie Week is the worst twist in all of Big Brother. Because of the fact that it literally stops a week of Big Brother. Again, it literally stops a week of Big Brother. It literally stops a week of fucking Big Brother. Like, are you serious? Are you serious? Basically, the version would be like a big double eviction where both Cameron and Jared come back and basically act like zombies and with these like weird costumes. And the rules don't really make much sense. I'm like just went on 2 competitions. It's like on this and that. Like I don't remember all the details honestly, but I do remember it being really confusing. And again, the fact that there was no HOH nominations, vetoes, or actual eviction, it made the week feel pretty less lackluster and exciting. Not everybody does like to try to obviously have something different to where it's not like the same boring thing out there. And that's why I always love Big Ben, honestly, even if it turns out pretty terribly at times. But I think people go to this as what starts the actual downfall of the season. And it's not hard to see why. It's really not hard to see why after this week. And also, considering that I want, you know what else makes it worse though? It's kind of like there's both Cameron and Jared. 2 big social pariahs in the season, 2 people that pissed off a lot of people. Well, no matter what, if it was Cameron or if it was Jared, no matter who was going to come back, they don't have to try and win like every HOH or the veto after this, because the moment that they lose, they will get evicted. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. I mean, Cameron did win next HOH, but when he did win the veto, he got backdoored, he got evicted the week after. Yeah, so my fears were right, honestly, but that's exactly what happened. No matter who's going to come back, they would have to win like every veto HOH, because the moment they lost one competition, they would get evicted. And that's pretty much what happened. Which made this week feel so much worse in retrospect, because, and again, it really starts what is the true downfall of this season. And now let's talk about that downfall. Now, like I mentioned before, I wouldn't say the downfall is as bad as some make it out to be. Some will say it's like the true disaster afterwards. Like it does have its good moments in the half, not gonna lie. But again, I am not denying that it does have a downfall after Zombie Week. I mean, the meme fiction was decent at best, honestly, considering the way that she ended up growing out is pretty hilarious. Bowie Jane was definitely responsibility of Bowie Jane to win, but not much really happens in that week. Not really, except for, Thingbot, and I always love Thingbot. Yeah, I mean, we did get the superhero week where we got an invisible HOH with Jack winning, honestly. We ended up telling everybody. There ended up being 2 vetoes, and then Jack made the move to blindside America and Corey. Which obviously is a pretty impressive move, honestly. One more underrated impressive moves, actually, from a winner, actually. That's also another impressive move that Jack does meet this season. Is actually get rid of Corey in America, and then Corey gets evicted. And yeah, for some reason, despite the fact that other D20 HOHs did, when they were competing in later HOH, they were still able to. Jack was able to compete in next HOH, and he ended up winning. Which made for a boring week where Blue got evicted, and then double eviction that was just like, we were like, oh my god, could we actually win this? But no, Bellington wins, and America gets evicted. Then we get a boring final 5 week, and we're going to get some pretty unthinkable moments. Again, with like Jack and Bowie Jane that even Matt, honestly. And then Suri gets evicted, and then the final 4 man, Bowie Jane went to a 3rd HOH. Jack, what could have been a Jack ended up making what was that at the time was a pretty dumb move, like I mentioned before, we're boring out Felicia. Deciding to Bowie Jane, and then Jack ends up winning. Yeah, that was the most exciting post-jury. It's also the fact that this season was about 100 days, if I remember correctly. And that certainly doesn't help either, because it made the season feel like it was going on forever. Like, this is definitely up there with 25, 22. It's probably some of the worst pacing in the show's history. I mean, but obviously most of that issues really stem from the latter half, not really the pre-jury. But yeah, even though I don't think Downfall is bad, it's still a pretty noticeable drop in quality. Like, really noticeable. Honestly, to all, they definitely have their good moments, like I mentioned, with the Corey in America, Blindside, and the reactions at that movie was some pretty great television. There is still kind of a downfall. I'm not saying that there is a downfall, because there still is a pretty noticeable downfall, mostly in the latter half, honestly. And again, Jack's competition win certainly doesn't help that matters either, honestly, which makes certain elements just so boring. You're like really praying. Like, I remember really praying that Suri would win at least one competition during the season. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. Now, despite all of that, were there any good moments that happened this season? Oh yeah, definitely. There were definitely a lot of good moments. Like I mentioned, The first 6 weeks were pretty great, honestly. Again, seeing everyone in the line, seeing all the craziness and all the backboard alliances and all the big alliances that occurred, honestly. Honestly, like I said, Heisem's like HOH-itis in week 2 is just pretty hilarious at how he was still, but the Red was the only person that never talked to, was the only person that didn't talk anything to Heisem. And he took that pretty personally, and he started to make Riley her target. It's like, you are my target, Riley. You are my target. I'm so television of getting you out, and I don't care if it ends the route. I really don't care if it ruins my game. And he has been so dictatorial to the point where next week Felicia, who's one of his blind members, ends up backdooring Heisem this week. So I thought that he actually won like 2 vetoes, the first 2 vetoes that could have actually been a good asset to the competitions, actually. But no, he ended up next week again. And he also got the return of the pressure cooker in week 4, which I remember the time was like pretty hype. Like, oh my god, the pressure cooker! And it was such as good as you expect, honestly. It's funny if I remember, they were like a few minutes shy of actually breaking the record from Big Brother 6, actually. But we do get some really fun moments and some fun, hilarious moments. We basically get a lot of fun, hilarious moments that you would expect from the pressure cooker. So, overall, I'm not really complaining on that. And then, of course, we see him trying to talk to Jack, and then the competition, basically, a few people decided to get a power that was stop the evictions and what happened. And it also hilarious that Jack actually was going to get evicted next week, but again, Ren and Kevin had like a friendship, they had a falling out for whatever reason. And Ren was like, I want to do that. And then Sue was like, we gotta get Red out. And they did. And then, yeah, week 6, one of the best weeks where Kevin ends winning HOH as they're trying to pull a big move with pulling up Izzy and Felicia. Jared wins the veto. It's a fun competition moment on that veto competition. And America getting the votes on to actually turn on Izzy, and then Sweet expecting something going wrong, and then Jared basically continues to blow up his own game. And then it has an incredible final chord that probably went for hours, if I remember correctly. And it's generally one of the most irritating fights in Big Brother recent memory. Like, that fight was just so hilarious. Like, always back one between Jared and Corey, but despite, Jared's unlikableness, it was always so fun to watch. Especially both of them being, like, related to, like, Sin's fire play. Like, Corey is related to Zach of all people, but yeah, that's beside the point. So, and like I mentioned, again, the Corey and Michael Einstein was also pretty fun to watch as well. And there are, of course, some occasional fun character moments as well. Again, Heisman to be a fun character during his time on the show. Again, Felicia had some pretty fun one-liners as well. Even Cerise still has some moments and still has some fun character moments too. Even Blue with her Kiki Meow Meow thing was also pretty hilarious at times. So there could be some fun humorous moments, but most of the stuff was really more in the first half though. In the first 6 weeks, like the first 6 weeks, I always say is the highlight of the season. And lastly, would there be any players I wouldn't like to see return or I think will return? Yeah, I wouldn't surprised if we do get a returning player season at some point. Like similar to B26, I wouldn't surprised if we get a lot of people from B25. Like if we do get all winners season, Dr. Jack probably may return, honestly. Or if we do get maybe like a Hero vs. Villain season, I'm sure Jack will definitely be a part of the conversation of who might return, whom actually might return. So I'm definitely not surprised if we I'm not surprised if we do see Jack on a later season, honestly. Felicia, I wouldn't mind seeing return, considering about being an old woman, she was a credible character. On Corey, I wouldn't mind seeing return again. I think they have a good second chance storyline, honestly. Honestly, Izzy, I wouldn't mind seeing return, honestly. In terms of the ones I see return most are definitely Izzy. Heisem will be a great someone to return, see if we can learn from mistakes. But oddly enough, I think Riley is the one I actually do want to see the most from this season, by her being the second boot of the season. Again, because I might have a little crush on her, she's kind of dropped down gorgeous. But Riley gets a great second chance storyline on this season, considering that she's someone that has really learned from a lot of her experience on this show. I feel like she could play an incredible social game. Like, she's probably one of the early boots that I feel could become a Big Brother legend, in my opinion. Which I'm not sure how big of a take that is, honestly. I might be the only person in the world that might feel that way. But what? But Riley's one of the people that does have a lot of potential. She does, she gets learn from mistakes and can be a great social player. Hell, people absolutely adored Riley on the season, honestly. And how people adore Ryan on the season. I think she was actually like super close to staying, and they always just didn't because the people thought they didn't have the votes, if I remember correctly. Like, I don't remember what the reason was, honestly, but people absolutely adored her on this season. Hell, I think Jack won the Ryan Riley first on this season, if I remember correctly. So again, if there's any person I feel could have a great chance to basically just have an incredible storyline on return, whether it be on like a chance season, like, please give us like a chance season now. Riley is the perfect candidate for that return player season, at least for me. Well, that pretty much my thoughts on Big Brother 25, which I think is up there with Big Brother 22. It's probably one of the most disappointing seasons of the show. And again, sometimes disappointing does not mean bad. Sometimes disappointing does not mean like a terrible god for a second season. It just seems to have a lot of potential behind it that actually had a great cast to it, honestly. Again, seeing Cirie Field Song Peter and the Cirie on the season as well. There was a lot of excitement coming into the season. And yet, it ended up being kind of a letdown, honestly. Having one of the most notable downfalls in the show's history. Having to play that team pretty unlikable at times. And again, having, with a lot of competition, Riley basically being like a huge negative on this season. And having a winner that's not really in, that's very satisfying for the overall trajectory of the season. Even the multiverse team itself, honestly, didn't really end up having much fat despite its great concepts. That's what I was trying to do, try to be something different. In the halftime, though, it's pretty great, honestly. Again, it's still a solid season. I wouldn't call it like a terrible season of Big Brother by any means. But at 17, I'm going to like, man, that could have been so much better. That could have been so great. And that's basically my thoughts on Big Brother 25. I hope you enjoyed these video essay contents. I've been actually really been enjoying doing this, so sorry about that, I don't have to stream right now. But definitely let me know down below in the comment section, what are your guys' thoughts on this season? What are your guys' thoughts on Big Brother 25? Definitely let me know down in the comment section. Let me know what your good elements, bad elements. Let me know how would you rate this season. All that jazz. And again, I did do a video essay on Big Brother 22, guys, check that out. And then eventually I do plan to do one on the other Big Brother seasons and some Survivor seasons in general. So stay tuned for that. This is the Star Wikipedia signing off.